With James Franklin now gone at Penn State, what now for some WPIAL recruits that were headed to Penn State? Remembering when Penn State's newest coach played and coached in the WPIAL, could Thomas Jefferson or Aliquippa really miss the WPIAL playoffs this year? And a couple conference titles on the line in this week's big games. Welcome to another edition of the Varsity Xtra Podcast here on the Post-Gazette Sports YouTube channel. I'm Mike White, the Post-Gazette, along with high school sports coordinator at the Post-Gazette, Keith Barnes, and we come at you every week with some predictions and talk about the big hot subjects in WPIAL sports and City League football, and there are some hot ones this week. But before we get to them, Keith Barnes, what have you to say?
We've got a little bit of business to take care of. Sports fans, when the game's on, there's only one spot you need to be. Dave & Buster's in Homestead. Catch every play on massive HD TVs, fuel up with fan favorites like wings and burgers, and keep the fun going with the latest games and ice-cold drinks. Whether it's happy hour, game day, or just a night out with friends, Dave & Buster's Homestead is where Pittsburgh goes to eat, drink, play, and watch sports. Proud sponsor of the Post-Gazette Sports WPIAL channel. Now, Mike, we're going to start off with our Talking Bot segment, and obviously the first thing we're going to talk about, for those of you who don't know, we taped this on Monday. So we're less than 24 hours out from when James Franklin was fired from Penn State, and Penn State had 5 recruits headed to University Park. And of those 5 recruits, 3 of them have decommitted already. And
from the WPIAL, from the
WPIAL, 3 of them have decided to decommit. One of them has said vehemently that he is still going to Penn State, and one has not commented. So, Mike, let's talk about this. We've got the players that are vacating the sinking ship SS Nittany Lion. What do we have coming up with these guys, and what do you think is going to happen with them moving forward?
Well, let's point out first the recruits. They are Kemon Spell, the great running back from McKeesport. He has said he is now decommitted from, as you reported, going to Penn State. Gabe Jenkins has also put on social media from Amani Christian. He is also backing out of his commitment to Penn State. The third one, Khalil Taylor from Pine-Richland, he said before James Franklin was fired Friday that he's backed out of his commitment. And the other 2 are Matt Sieg of Fort Cherry and David Davis of Amani Christian. You had David Davis saying he doesn't matter to him. He's still going to Penn State. Matt Sieg really had no comment on him. What will they do?
I will say, I looked at his social media today, and according on his X page, he's still listed as Penn State football. So at this point in time, as we record this, he is still a Penn State recruit. And for those who don't know, he's going in January. He's going to be graduating early, and he decided that he was going to Penn State, early admission. So is David Davis. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Matt Sieg decides to decommit and what he decides to do. But at this point in time, as we're recording this, he is still a Penn State recruit.
And I think he will remain a Penn State recruit. It's kind of been in him. I think no matter who's the coach, I bet he stays there with Penn State. That's just my feeling on Matt Sieg. I think he's been sold on them for a while. I'd be shocked if he didn't go there. The other guys, Khalil Taylor, a lot's going to depend on who is the coach. Is it Terry Smith? Will he be the coach after he's the interim coach now? But, I don't know. I'd say the chances are not great that Terry will remain as the coach. But what will those guys do? I honestly think Matt Sieg will stay. You said already David Davis told you he's staying. Khalil Taylor, it wouldn't surprise me anything he does. Kemon, same with Gabe Jenkins. Kemon Spell, you know what, Keith? He committed when he was a sophomore in his sophomore season, early in sophomore season. And that was before the definite revenue sharing was coming in, which is a big thing now with the money being paid to these kids. And just judging from his comments, judging from his coach's comments, and I think Kemon Spell is kind of looking. He's going to Georgia. He's going to Notre Dame. I think he might look at really. I'm not saying this definitely. Where's he going to get the best deal? I mean, when you look at Matt Miller's comment from Friday night, which he said, I guess to you, it's a once in a lifetime thing for him, and you want to make sure that him and his family are set up. So you make those late phone calls, you talk to everybody you need to, and you just hope he gets the best deal and it sets him up for the future. what does that say? He's going to, whatever the best deal is. I mean, I'm talking, judging from what other top players get, I mean, you're talking over $1 million he's going to get, and maybe upwards of close to $2 million. And I think he might go to wherever the best deal is.
I don't think you can blame him for that either. I mean,
I'm not saying he's
number one running back in the country in the class of 2027, and everybody's going to want him. And anybody who's watched him play knows he is legit. He is the real deal. He's great between the tackles. He's great on the outside. He's got outstanding speed. He can catch the ball in the backfield. This is a kid that's going to claim a lot. And with NIL being what it is, with them being able to pay these kids coming out of high school, I don't blame him for wanting to go for the best deal. Now, Kemon and I, we did the 100 yards this year before the season, and he told me flat out he was locked in on Penn State, but he was going to take visits. He was going to listen to offers. I think even at that point, he was vacillating a little bit on whether or not he was going to stay at Penn State. And when the team lost those 2 straight games and Khalil Taylor decommitted, I think that after the game against Mars, he scored 6 touchdowns on Friday night, came right out and said, I'm not 100% on Penn State. And as soon as he said that, you could tell if Franklin went down, he was going. And there is no doubt in my mind, as soon as they lost that game on Saturday against Northwestern, he was out of there. And when it became official that Franklin was gone, he was gone. And there are going to be a lot of suitors. Like you said, he's going to visit Notre Dame. He's got an offer from Georgia. I think everybody's going to offer him at this point in time. He's going to end up with more than 100 Division I offers. He's just that good. And it's going to depend on who's going to give him the most money, the best offer. And don't forget, too, even if he goes somewhere, the transfer portal's there. So he could get a lot to start and then get more down the road. So it's going to be interesting to see where his recruiting goes over the next few months.
Well, that's why I said when he committed as a freshman, there wasn't for sure yet this, revenue sharing with, and so there wasn't for sure how much money there was NIL, but it was nothing like compared to what the revenue sharing has brought in. So, things have changed. The landscape has changed since he committed. And, he seems to be a little more, I don't want to call it braggadocious about himself, but he's saying, I'm reading comment, I'm the best there is now. I've read a comment, if I'm 100% healthy, I'm going to score 6 touchdowns every game. He is become quite the confident fellow.
Yes. And he's never shied away from being confident. Even last year, he was confident, but I think he's gotten bigger, he's gotten better, and he's getting a lot more notice. And I think he knows that if he has to hype himself before anybody else will hype him. And the thing is, he may brag a little bit, but the team loves him.
He can back it up. He can back it up.
Loves him. And yeah, he can back it up. And they know with him, they have a chance to win a WPIAL title this year, possibly a state title this year or next year. So they're going to ride him as much as they can. They're going to support him as much as he can. They're going to give him every opportunity to succeed.
All right, let's go on to the next subject here on Talking About on the Post-Gazette Varsity Xtra Podcast. Let's go a little remembering when. Terry Smith is a new interim coach at Penn State, remembering when he played and coached in WPIAL. He won a WPIAL championship in one of the greatest championship games ever in WPIAL history as the quarterback of Gateway. And he also coached in one of the WPIAL's best championship games in 2007 against Central Catholic, 35-34 in overtime. And then he coached here for 11 years. And, what's interesting, I think, about him, though, Keith, is that, James Franklin is pushed out. Terry Smith was kind of pushed out at Gateway. Yeah. He was the athletic director and coach, and the school board made a rule that you couldn't be the athletic director and have a supplemental position. So he had to choose. He either they put his salary at part-time at one point. He had to choose either be the athletic director or the coach. So he said, the heck with it. And he took the job as a Temple assistant coach. 1 year later, he was at Penn State. But he's always a guy that has overcome. He's not the biggest cat in the world. He's only 5'7" in high school, but he was on the Fabulous 22. He made the first game of the Dapper Dan Round Ball Classic when I was helping run it. He was a great athlete, did some great things, played in the Big 33 game, had a nice career as a receiver at Penn State. And I talked to Cam Sadler, one of his best players at Gateway. and what he thought that maybe Terry Smith could do at Penn State as the interim coach. And I'm going to read you what he said. I thought it was interesting. He said, one thing I know about Coach T is I don't know if he'll change the play callers. One thing I know, his kids will show up Saturday because he puts enough gasoline on them in the week to go out there and play hard. That's what he does. He gets the best out of guys. He is almost the perfect person for this type of situation. Guys, he says, let's go. Here we go. And he says he's kind of the perfect guy for this situation. I don't know. You remember anything about Terry Smith?
I remember a little bit about him. I don't remember him as a player. I remember him more as a coach, and I've dealt with him as an athletic director as well. And, he always struck me as that guy who would do whatever he could, get the most out of his players. And from what I've known from Terry over the years, is he is the best recruiter that James Franklin could have ever had for that program. He has recruited the WPIAL like nobody else. And he has brought all those great players from the WPIAL up to University Park and had him play at Beaver Stadium. So bringing him in as the interim coach is smart. If Penn State's really smart, they find a way to keep him on the staff one way or the other. Because if you lose him, if I'm Pitt, I jump all over him because he can bring in those WPIAL kids into Pitt because he's a great recruiter for the university.
All right, next segment. There we go. Enough Penn State talk. Hey, is it possible that either Aliquippa or Thomas Jefferson will miss the WPIAL playoffs? What do you think? What's your prediction? And the last time they missed the WPIAL playoffs, Forrest Gump won the Oscar for the best picture.
Wow.
Run, Forrest, run, TJ, run, Aliquippa, run, so you don't miss the playoffs. And the best movie that year, the number one grossing movie, was The Lion King. So We'll see if they're the heart of the Lions and the heart of the Jaguars here. What do you think? Do either of them miss the playoffs?
No, I don't. Thomas Jefferson, I think, clinches this week. They're playing Chartiers Valley. And Chartiers Valley's had a great run. Give Steve Spence a lot of credit for what he's done there. But they're running into back-to-back weeks with Trinity and Thomas Jefferson. And Thomas Jefferson's going to win that game, and they're going to lock up at least the number 2 spot in that conference. So I think they're in. Now, for those who don't know, in Class 4A, that is the top 2 teams in each classification, in each of the conferences, and 2 wild cards. So you're looking at Thomas Jefferson and probably Trinity making it out of that conference. Now, when you move it down and you go to the Parkway, now that's where it gets interesting because Newcastle's more than likely going to win, but then you've got Aliquippa, West Allegheny, and Montour. And Aliquippa has Montour this week, and even if they lose that game, they have Ambridge the following week. Montour and West Allegheny play each other in the finale. So you could legitimately have the 2 wild cards come out of that conference because they're just all that good. So I don't see Aliquippa missing in the playoffs at all, or Thomas Jefferson.
I agree with you. I think Thomas Jefferson wins this week because Chartiers Valley, great what they've done, but you look at the record of the teams they've beaten. I think it was 14-31 after this week. Yeah. I think TJ, not a great team, but they did a little bit last week. I think they win that game. But if by chance Aliquippa would lose the Montour this week, I still think probably the 2 wild cards will come from the Parkway Conference, unless unless Aliquippa, I can't see. Well, I guess West Allegheny, Newcastle. What if West Allegheny, Newcastle, and Montour all finish ahead of Aliquippa? But I still think that they'll take two teams from that Parkway Conference.
I agree. I think the WPL is going to take a look at that and say, who's your marquee name? Because that's what it's going to come down to, the marquee names. And it's going to be, do you want to go and see Aliquippa play in the playoffs, or do you want to go see Chartiers Valley play in the playoffs? And it's going to come down to, most people would say they would.
Well, that's not fair to Char Valley.
It's not fair to Char Valley, but I agree with you. Chartiers Valley has,
but they really haven't beaten anybody great. No. Char Valley. So
and Aliquippa's Aliquippa. So yeah, I can definitely see Aliquippa and Thomas Jefferson both making the playoffs this year.
Okay.
Ding.
Next subject. Harran Zureikat from Fox Chapel set the WPIAL record for longest field goal 2 weeks ago with a 57-yarder. He tried a 65-yarder Friday night. I saw video of it. He dang near made it. I think he missed by about 2 yards.
Yeah.
My question is, will Harran Zureikat, the Georgia recruit, by the way, I wonder if Kemon Spell will be a teammate of his someday.
That's
anyway,
a possibility.
Will he set, he's got 2 games left, the state record for longest field goal? It's 64 yards by Bishop Hoban's Jerry McGroarty in 2003. What do you think? Does he get it in these last 2 games?
I think that if I'm Fox Chapel's head coach, I think every chance I get anywhere near midfield, I put him up to kick.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think
let him kick on third down. Let him kick on third down.
I let him try it. I mean, what else do you have to lose? I mean, you're Fox Chapel. You're not going to make the playoffs. At least you could have this kid set a state record and bring something good out of what has been a tumultuous year for the Foxes. I mean, going back to, the whole Pine-Richland incident and the letter coming out about, trying to, retool all the classification and everything like that. Fox Chapel's come under a lot of fire this year. And that might just put a positive spin on the season if he ends up breaking a state record. So I'd give him a shot every chance I could.
I say, judging from that video, I say he gets it because I think they're going to give him shots at it, and I say he gets it. I agree.
I agree.
He just missed that 65-yarder. I think he gets it.
I've seen him kick. I saw him make a 55-yarder against Pine-Richland in that game, and he had a plenty to spare on that. So, and plus, what people don't realize is high school kids still do kick with that little teeny T, and that little bit of leverage is just enough. So it might be enough for him to get that 65-yarder that he's looking for.
Okay.
That works for me. What do we got next?
That wraps up our first segment, Keith.
That wraps up the first segment already. All righty. Well, we'll be back on our next segment. We'll have our shining stars this week. We'll have our pick 6 games, and the PGFL was not a good week for me, but Mike took the lead on me again. So we'll be back in just a few with our next segment here on the Post-Gazette Varsity Xtra Podcast. Hi, I'm Post-Gazette High School Sports Coordinator Keith Barnes, along with my colleague Mike White. We're here again with the Varsity Xtra Podcast, sponsored by Dave & Buster's. And we're going to talk about our shining stars for this week. Mike, who do you have as your shining star for this week?
My shining star is a guy who's cooking. Drew Cook at South Allegheny, a receiver, defensive back. He had 5 catches last week, another touchdown. And for the season now, well, I'm going to go over the past 2 years. He has 35 catches this year. He had 80 last year. So that's 115. He has scored 16 touchdowns this year. Now he scored some in a few other ways, but 16 touchdowns. He's among the top 20 scorers in WPIAL, among the top 10 receivers in WPIAL. And Keith, I think he's one of the most underrated 2-sport athletes in the WPIAL. All state in basketball last year, and he was second in the WPIAL in catches last year. Receptions, and he is a 2-sport guy. He took South Allegheny, helped them to the state championship game in basketball, and they just might go to this WPIAL championship in football this year. By the way, it pretty much is in line. They are going to win their first conference title since 1986. So Drew Cook, back when they were in a conference with 3 schools that don't even exist anymore: Wilkinsburg, Turtle Creek, and Swissville. So that's how long it's been. Drew Cook, my shining star.
I'll say 2 of those teams are now part of Woodland Hills at this point in time. And Wilkinsburg just kind of went away. My shining star is Tyler Eber from Thomas Jefferson. And, he kind of came to the fore last year as a sophomore running back and just powered that team to a WPIAL title. This year, well, let's talk about last week. Last week, he had 38 carries for 279 yards, 6 total touchdowns, including 1 receiving. Kind of got overshadowed a little bit by Kemon Spell, who also had 6 touchdowns against Mars last week. But this season, he went over 1,000 yards rushing, and he has 29 touchdowns this year. I mean, we've talked about him a little bit, but not to the extent that we have some of the other running backs like Aiden Yoakum and Kemon Spell this year. He has kind of drifted under the radar, but he's one of the reasons why Thomas Jefferson might be that dark horse this year when it comes to winning a WPIAL title. If they can put it all together, he can certainly carry that team. That's for sure. and he's my shining star.
All right, let's go on to our pick six segment. We picked the top 6 games of WPIAL. Last week, I was 5-1. Keith Barnes, you were 5-1. So for the season now, you still up on me a little bit, 32-16. I've got to get on it here. Only 2 weeks left in the regular season, but we will continue this through the playoffs. All right, our pick six this week. Let's start off with Montour at Aliquippa. Big game. I think whoever wins this game has a leg up to make the playoffs, definitely. Who do you like, Keith?
Something happened. Hold on. "22 minutes, and that was with a pause. It's probably going to be about 18.
No, it's not, because we were at 20. We were right around 20, I think, when we hit